and welcome to West Country Wanderings. Welcome to another one of my Cotswold walk series, though it doesn't look like it at the moment. It's one of my car-free walks. I'm here at the railway station at Evesham. No, it's not a railway one today. I'm going to walk from here into the town centre here at Evesham in Worcestershire, and then I'm going to wait for a bus. It's the bus that goes between the towns of Evesham in Worcestershire and Tewkesbury in Gloucestershire. We're not going to either of those places though. We're going to a village right in the Cotswolds to start a walk. The village will be Beckford. And the service I wish to highlight is a service run by a company called Diamond. I think it used to be covered by NN Cresswell, and they've got some funding from Worcestershire County Council to increase the frequency of the buses to Tewkesbury, but also to this Cotswold village of Beckford. And they now run every 30 minutes. That started back in July, so it's a new service. So I thought we'd try it out and use it as part of our car-free days out in the Cotswolds to go on a circular walk from a beautiful town, or beautiful village even, and strike right up into the Cotswold Hills. So I hope you can join me again here on West Country Wanderings for another Cotswold walk without a car. Now, as you can see behind me, the traffic's all jammed up. One of the reasons why I didn't want to use the car drive into the Cotswolds, so I arrived here. We've had an hour and 15-minute journey through train from where I live. I'm fortunate. Evesham lies on the Cotswold line between Worcester and Oxford, so it's really handy for connections there. You can connect places like Worcestershire Parkway to cross-country services from the north and from the southwest, so that's really convenient. You can change there, get a train here to Evesham. There's buses that go on to other parts of the Cotswolds as well, including to Broadway, but that isn't quite so frequent with the bus. But I have done that when I was doing the Cotswold Way. Won't have time to cover Evesham itself today, but I have done a separate video about looking at aspects of it, just a short bite looking at various bits and pieces around the town. But I think we will return here to Evesham, Worcestershire, to cover it more in depth at a later date. Just waiting at the bus stop here in Evesham now. The service is number 540, and it leaves from stand B here in Evesham High Street. On some of the apps it says bus station. There isn't a bus station in Evesham anymore, but yeah, this is where they are. There's another one in that direction and another one in that direction. I think they're A, B and C, so it's the middle one, B, and it's right next to Subway there, so that's where we need to get our bus from to take us to Beckford in the Cotswolds. So here we are in Beckford in Worcestershire in the Cotswolds. Now there's a little story about how I found out about this place. I'd never been here before until the other day. I've done walks around the area before over the other side of Breedon Hill, which is what we're going to be walking up today on this walk. And I was coming back from Toddington, which is on the Gloucestershire and Warwickshire Steam Railways, filming there. And driving along the A46 and in the area, and I thought I'd turn off down here because I'd not seen it before, and I was aware that it has got a silk works and silk shop, I do believe. I think it was part of a factory there. I may have time to have a look at that later on. I thought I'd pop in, and I just thought it was the most delightful village. As I was here, a bus turned up, and I thought, well, that must be like the bus of the day, because they're not going to be very frequent. I had a look at the timetable, and I was absolutely amazed to discover that there was a half-hourly bus service between here, Evesham and Tewkesbury, and it also drops you right by the entrance to the church. There's a cafe here too. I'm not sure the opening times are. I think it's open at the moment, but I've got my provisions with me. But I might pop in there if it's still open on the return back. So we're doing a circular walk around here today. And I thought I could combine it with a train trip to Evesham, catch the bus from there, and then head here to Beckford. Of course, you could do it from Tewkesbury. From the Tewkesbury direction, it was actually a little bit more complicated because the station in Tewkesbury is at a place called Ashchurch, about a mile and a half, and it meant you had to change a couple of buses. So yeah, it didn't work out. It was easier for me for Evesham, but it might be easier for you using the train service at Ashchurch and then heading into Tewkesbury and coming out that way. So that's an alternative way of doing it. But the bus to here doesn't stop or serve Ashchurch railway station. But still great to have a regular service. There was only one other person that got on today as I dropped it off at Beckford, and there was nobody else on the bus, as you saw as I was leaving Evesham, which I was amazed to see. I think Diamond are actually there in West Midlands coming. I think they're based in Albury, right in the urban West Midlands. I know we're in regional West Midlands here in the Cotswolds, but yeah, they're in proper West Midlands, and they cover all of Worcestershire, I do believe. But this is a new service. They've never served Tewkesbury and Gloucestershire before until that service started back in July. Anyway, let's see if I can find somewhere a little bit drier to tell you a little bit more about what's happening on our walk today. So the church here is 12th century, hasn't been re-altered in any way whatsoever, and it has this amazing arch here which was carved in 1130. Can you look at that all the way back to 1130? And it has a central nave, and they think that when it was originally built there was no transept, so it was just like a simple shape with the nave going down to the altar. The nave also has a high-pitched timber framed roof. Unfortunately, because of the very low light levels today, it makes it really difficult to film and photograph, but just give you bit of an indication of what it looks like in the gloom that's in there, because we're in a very gloomy day, unfortunately, with the heavy overcast, leadened, rainy skies. But it is a magnificent church. As I say, it's 12th century and completely untouched by the Victorians, not knocked about with. It is what you see from all those years ago, 900 years ago, which is amazing. And it's great to see that it's open here on a rather wet and dismal Monday morning. Now, the tower of the church here at Beckford is also really interesting because it was built over 3 different periods. Part of the central tower was constructed later than the church, but when I say later, I mean the 13th century. Another section of it was added in the 15th century, and then I think there was a fire or a problem with the masonry, and another section was added on around 1622. So it's an amazing structure, but it still looks very, very solid and very Cotswold-like. Just checked our map. Our path climbing Breedon Hill actually goes around the side of the churchyard and up a lane. It also follows a nature reserve. There were some gravel pits, I think, here at one time. It's now Beckford Nature Reserve. I'll see if I can have a look at that on our return trip back to Beckford later. Anyway, let's start our walk here in the Cotswolds. So we're now on a private track, which is also a bridle way to Breedon Hill. It's a bit of a algae covered public footpath sign there. And we're also now on the Overbury estate, which we came across when we was doing our last walk in and around the Breedon Hill area. It's a most delightful village, Beckford. Oh, that, by the way, is the entrance to Beckford Nature Reserve. And I think there is a large lake in there which was formerly a gravel pit, and as I say, we'll have a good look at that on the way back. Hunkering under this horse chestnut tree at the moment to get out of the worst of the rain and to be able to film to you. Actually, I was surprised to see a group of walkers ahead of me. They're just gone past. I was just checking my map and the route and the camera and everything. And yeah, a group of about 5 or 6 walkers off on a walking mission, so I'm not the only mad person walking in the rain in the Cotswolds here today. Now our route strikes up to the top ridge of Breeden Hill. When it gets to the top, we're actually going to meet the Wychehaven Way, which is a medium distance footpath. There's one actually that I considered doing before I decided to do the Geopark Way, which goes from Droitwich Spa here in Worcestershire to Broadway, also here in Worcestershire in the Cotswolds. But it starts, I can't remember is it 46 miles long, I think. I know it starts off at Vines Park, right next to Droitwich Canal in Droitwich Spa. Really nice town. But we're not doing the Wychehaven Way today, but we will be walking along a section of it as we strike our way down, after leaving the ridge, to a village called Ashton under Hill. I'm interested to look around that because I've never been there before either. So we've now come to a footpath crossroads in effect. I've been striking up this path here, up the hill here. So the village of Beckford is down there somewhere in the vale. And yeah, so the A46 goes past Beckford, which is the main road between Cheltenham Spa and Evesham. And here you have a choice, so you can actually do a few alternative routes, one going this way into that woodland there, or striking out along the corner of the field. But we're going to do none of those things. We're actually going to be going up here. Excuse for the blobs on the lens, because it is just coming down quite heavy at the moment. Make our way up there. Now we're on part of Breeden Hill known as Conderton Hill. The reason I'm smirking is that the reason I'll tell you in a minute. It's quite good fun that. This here was former quarries as we're making our way up to the top of Breeden Hill. And the reason laughing is because just back there, you probably heard some commotion. There was a sheepdog and there was 2 farmers and they were herding the sheep along this lane behind me, and the lady sheep farmer, she asked me to stand in the middle of the lane to stop the sheep working their way up the lane. So I was doing that. Unfortunately I couldn't film it because I needed both hands to wave the sheep as I was doing so, but there was loads of them, probably 200 sheep that went from that side across the track over to that way. So yeah, all good fun here in the Cotswolds on Breeden Hill. Rain is finally starting to ease off, which is great, hence I brought the camera out again. Still not quite dry enough to do any walking past shots. Yeah, the hat's a bit soggy, all the wet. I could put up the hood, but you get more airflow wearing the hat, I think, and it does a really good job of keeping the rain off and falling down onto my camera as well when it comes down heavy. So it's doing its job. That's the Conderton Woods over that way, and we have actually been to Conderton before when I did the walk, circular walk, from the village of Kemerton, which is only about 2 or 3 miles down the slope, so Breeden on the other side. But this is good to see a different aspect to the hill because I've not been this way before. So we're now 180 metres above sea level according to the contour line on my map app. We still need to go up to 283, I think that's the right figure for the height of Breeden Hill. I think over there are remains of a fort. I think it's an Iron Age fort here on the hill. And there is still another farm to pass. I think it's called Sheldon, Snildon, something like that. I'll put it in the map again now so you can see. I can't keep checking my map all the time though because it's wet and I don't want to get my phone too wet either, as that's why I keep putting my camera and phone away quite quickly. But our track goes around, so we're going to head up that way to gain height, and then we'll be heading up some more to get up onto the ridge. Also down there in that direction is remains of a large Iron Age fort. Sadly it's too boggy and wet to go over the grassland, so I'm going to stick to the track to take us up to the top of Breeden Hill. Now, in case you're wondering what I'm looking at, there's not a bit of snow. It is chilly up here, but that isn't snow. And I have come across one of these before filming in Worcestershire. These are puffballs, giant puffball. Yes, they're fungi. mushroom family. So there we go, that's my toe in comparison. I don't want to touch it, but it looks like the sheep have been nibbling it. And then yes, when they fully grow, they literally have to spread the spores around all over the hillside. Steve England, the YouTuber, would love this. Let's take some photographs of that. Yeah, so fantastic to see these puffballs. There's some more over on this side as well. They're almost like they're going in a ring around this part of the hill. This isn't the top of the hill, but there's like a copse there the other side of that Cotswold stone wall. So yes, that's a derelict building. It used to be somebody's house, cottage here on the higher slopes of Bredon Hill. Obviously abandoned some time ago. Now the roof, timbers and supporting wall is all completely collapsed. Bit of a sad sight. Now you can get closer to it, and I wouldn't want to anyway, because obviously danger, unsafe building. Anyway, we're going to continue along the track there. Nice, lovely Cotswold stone wall there to get to the top of Bredon Hill. So I've just looked at my map, and that is actually the site at Shalden Farm. Shalden Farm. Still marked on the OS map as being a proper farm, but yeah, now sadly derelict, and you can see the roof is completely gone. You can actually make out some other outer buildings there in the overgrowth, but now nature has completely taken it over. That's where that farmhouse was, a derelict farmhouse, and I've just come up this track here with the pine trees lovely on the right hand side, and we have the views down there. That's probably not the best view from the hill here at Bredon Hill, because that's looking down towards Ashchurch, which is now large industrial area. There's going to be a new shopping centre there called the Cotswold Shopping Centre, probably to rival the other one at Bicester in Oxfordshire, but we're a long way from shopping malls and that sort of thing here on Bredon Hill. Well, we're now coming up to a gate, and it's looking quite ethereal with the mist on the top here of Bredon Hill. It's giving me different readings for the meters. The contour line says one thing and the actual app gives me a different reading. Not sure why that is, but I've just spotted a seat, so we're just going to go through this gate, which will take us on to the Whiteshaven Way. We'll turn right on that. I'm going to stop there for a cup of tea before we head down to the village of Ashton under Hill. A seat, and it stopped raining. Yes, on the top of Bredon Hill. I thought the conditions would actually get worse as we got to the top. Temperatures dropped, expected that, but the wind's dropped as well. It's surprisingly sheltered here. Lovely woodlands around here, but unfortunately I think it might be for grouse shooting, that type of thing over that side. So we're on the Whiteshaven Way, so this would take us into, well, if we carried on, take us to the village of Broadway in the Cotswolds. And if we went the other way, it would take us to the spa town of Droitwich, both in Worcestershire, of course. 47 miles long, something like that. Anyway, we're not doing anything like that today. We're going to head down this way. I'm going to grab my tea though before I'm doing that. I am enjoying the walk. I'm enjoying it more now that the rain's stopped and I can do a little bit more filming, which is always good, because that's what this is all about here on YouTube, isn't it? And if you're thinking I haven't done so much from the far southwest of the region in the West Country, you're absolutely right. I don't tend to do much of that during the summer months. However, if you're watching this shortly, I'll be heading off down to the county of Devon for a few days, and I hope to film a few videos around in that area, that part of the world. It'll be around the South Hams area, so that's kind of Dartmouth, Totnes, Kingsbridge, that area. I had done a little bit on that before, kind of Brixham and Dartmouth, but I want to explore other areas which I am familiar with because I used to live in a village called South Milton, as well as living in Dartmouth up till a few years ago. So I'm hoping to show you where I used to be able to live in South Milton and the beach there and all of that. So that will be coming on the channel in the not too distant future. But today we've got a walk to finish, even as I finish my tea and my sandwich and lunch and head on down, and then we'll go back to Beckford, have another look around Beckford after we've looked at the village down here, and see if we can have a look at the nature reserve there as well. So I hope you can join me for that, and I'll see you in a bit. So it's slowly starting to clear. You would be able to see the main escarpment looking across towards Broadway, Chipping Campden and that area from here, but well, you can just make it out the other side of that clump of trees which is now in the centre of the screen, but it's very, very misty still. But yeah, we're going to make our descent shortly. This is the footpath I'm walking across to Ashton-under-Hill along here. So we're now looking down the other side of Breeden Hill, across towards the Avon Vale, which flows through both Pershore and Evesham, which is where I started, well, the bus ride anyway today. And I have done another video in this area, apart from the one walking up from Overbury Kemerton, and that was one entitled Looking for a Castle in the Cotswolds, and that's from the village of Elmley Castle, and that is, well, it's kind of down there somewhere, but slightly across towards the left of the screen. It's a very photogenic clump of trees there. Wow, that's a breathtaking view from up here now. It's what Cotswold Hills are all like. It's not just about the pretty villages, the Cotswold Stone of course, but that's a big part of it. The tea shops and the little shops and the churches, which is absolutely fabulous, but it's also about the landscape. And it doesn't get more Cotswold beauty than this. So that's our clump of trees again, from a different angle. I think they're beech trees. And down here's the trees that we saw when we were walking up to Breeden Hill. The pine trees, which always look slightly ethereal to me, with the clearing view across towards the main Cotswold escarpment here from Breeden Hill. So now making our descent of Breeden Hill, following this path all the way around here, around the curve, and then dropping down to Ashton-under-Hill. So that's our destination village down the little nook below the hill down there. Sorry I haven't been able to film much to this point because, yeah, as you guessed it, the rain's coming down heavily again. Let's see if we can get some shelter in the village. And it's interesting here that the sign, public footpath arrow marker, is marked the Wyche Way, W-Y-C-H-E way, as opposed to the Wyche Avon Way. So that must have been its original name before they added on the Avon bit. Not sure when that happened. If you know, drop a line below. Anyway, we're going to follow the fence line here into the heart of the village at Ashton-under-Hill. So we've now arrived at Ashton-under-Hill. The most beautiful squirrel just darting across there. And that there is the old post house barn, complete with a lovely red telephone box, which is no longer a telephone box, and a post box, which I believe still is a post box. And I think also there is a pub here as well. And there is said pub. There's diners in there at the moment, so I don't want to go up too close to windows. But that is the Star Inn here, Ashton-under-Hill, and it is open on a very wet day. And that's the 5:40 bus that's just gone whizzing past. That's the one that I caught from Evesham. Some really, really beautiful buildings here. This is the old farmhouse. I'm just coming up to the crossroads, which I think is possibly in the centre of the village. I'm going to turn right though before I head back to Beckford and have a look at the church, which I think is called St Barnabas or St Barbara's. I'm not sure. Well, we'll go and check it out. So I'm here actually by the Lich Gate leading up to, it is actually St Barbara's Church. I thought I'd read it wrong because I have not come across a St Barbara's Church on my travels here on West Country Wanderings before, so this is a first. I'm going to stop under here to have a cup of tea before I have a closer look at the church and then make our way back to Beckford. So this is a really useful and dry underneath here, stopping off point before we head on to Beckford. Yeah, it's out the rain, so it's really good because it's coming down quite heavy again. I apologise I couldn't get as many shots as what I liked. Just to, like to say clarification about the pronunciation. Now I'm not sure. There's another place called Ashchurch or Ashton under Wychwood, which is in the eastern part of the Cotswolds in Oxfordshire Cotswolds, and I'm not sure if that one's pronounced Wychwood or Whitewood, or whether it's this one that's pronounced Wychwood or Whitewood. So Wychwood, Whitewood, I don't know. If you do know, please drop a comment below. So this is St Barbara's Church, Ashton under Hill. Slightly different hue of stone to what we saw when we started our journey, our walk today at Beckford. It's got a more yellowy orangey, which indicates a higher iron concentration, iron oxide. And yeah, so it probably means that it comes from a different quarry to the one at Beckford, which is only a couple of miles away. So this is the Church of St Barbara here, Ashton under Hill, and it's one of only 3 churches dedicated to the life of St Barbara in England. I've not come across it before, and St Barbara is actually the patron saint of gunners and armourers. Most unusual. Other than that, I don't know anything about her life. I do know something about the history of the church though. As to be said, this is a beautifully kept church. It's a credit to the parishioners who live here in this beautiful Cotswold village. And the Minster Church of Beckford, which we saw at the start of the video, looked after this church, but this church is equally as interesting, although not as large as you can see. But it has a Norman porch, which I've just come through, that door there, and some beautiful stained glass windows as well. But it has an elegant simplicity to it. It's lovely. And that's a final look back at the churchyard there. And there's a group of school children led by their teachers at the moment. They're taking them on a nature walk on the lower slopes of Breedon Hill here in Worcestershire. And that's always good to get children out and about in the countryside, isn't it? We have beautiful pasture land here, the lower slopes of Breedon Hill as it merges into the village of Ashton under Hill. So the landscape has changed somewhat now. That'll be looking across towards the direction of Sedgebarrow and Winchcombe and places such as that. So the opposite side of Breedon Hill, and the A46, the main road between Bath, Stroud, Cheltenham and Evesham, lies somewhere in the middle of all of that. I'm now in the tiny little hamlet of Grafton, which, as far as I can see from the map, is made up of 3 farms. Upper, this one here, middle, and lower. And I think that's, apart from a couple of cottages, just about it. It does have rather splendid Cotswold buildings there. Love that old no through road sign, which will go up to the lower slopes of Breedon Hill, I would guess, but not across the top of it. And that's looking back up towards Breedon Hill again. Now, there is a footpath that diverges away at this point, just behind the camera. I've decided to stick to the road there because of the inclement conditions, because it's a bit soggy and boggy underfoot, and it's a very quiet road. I've not met any cars walking along it so far. And here's that bus heading back to Evesham again, which is the one I'll be catching soon in probably about, I don't know, about an hour's time. There it goes. Now over there is lots of lakes, and they were formerly gravel pits, and also here is Beckford Silk, which I'm not going to have time to show you today, but it's just down there, down that lane. There's also fisheries down there as well. They sell silk products there, and you can get to light lunches there as well. So now come around to Beckford Nature Reserve. Going to have a look at the bird hide event. And up here you can see lots of burrows. I wonder if they're for badgers. I would imagine so here in the nature reserve. But this habitat here, which obviously this former gravel pit and quarry, is what is known as a solitary bee habitat. Most of the bees in the United Kingdom are not social bees. So 90% of them are not social, and they don't live in colonies, and these are called solitary bees. And the ones that are here are ivy bees and mining bees, although it's a little bit damp and cold to see them out and active today. So I've come round to one of the two bird hides here at Beckford Nature Reserve. It has an interesting history, more complex than I originally thought. This area was formerly a playing field for the priests, Salesian priests, a name I've not come across before, which were training at nearby Beckford Hall, which is just down kind of that way. In 1981, after the college Beckford Hall closed for the training of priests, it was purchased by Grafton Quarries on the strict understanding that after they quarried stone and gravel out from this area, the entire site would be allowed to return to nature. And that's exactly what's happened since the early 2000s. And it's great. It's a really fantastic habitat. As you can see there through there, we've got a lake through there. I'm going to try and put on my telephoto lens so I can get some shots on that bit before I close. And you've got lots of other habitats here. You've got a woodland over there, the quarry there where you saw where the bees were earlier, and badgers there probably as well. So yeah, it's brilliant, and well done to everyone that volunteers and helps this fantastic nature reserve here at Beckford. So that's a view across one of the large lakes there. There's a couple of coots on it I can see at the moment. I can't see any grebes there, just one's just dived down there, hasn't it? But yeah, it's good to see, but yeah, not great conditions. There's another coot just coming up as well. I don't know if you can quite see that. Slightly out of shot, I think. But yeah, it's a bit of a damp day, isn't it? But it's good to see a fantastic nature which is tucked away on the edge of this Cotswold village. There is another one at Nature Reserve, a bit like this one, at Kemerton, which was also formerly a gravel pit. And I did a video about that a little while ago now, which is, I think it's just called Worcestershire Lake. And that's about a couple of miles away from the village of Kemerton, also here in the Cotswolds and also on the slopes of Breedon Hill. So from here at Beckford Nature Reserve, that's it today on one of my Cotswold walks. Quick thing to add, I'm not going to have time to scrabble down to have a look at it. There used to be a railway station here. I'm sure many of you know that, follow my railway series, but it's not a railway series today. It was on, yeah, the Gloucester Loop, which I mentioned the other day when I was up at Ashchurch in the north of the part of the county, and it left at Ashchurch, not many miles from here, going up to Barnt Green, and there was a station here at that, but I think it's now been restored, but it is private. It's quite difficult to get into it and film it, but yeah, Beckford Station. I think Ron from Parkinsons Walks though has done a video exploring part of this area and the railway line. If I can find that, I'll link to it at the end of this video. Thanks very much for watching one of my Cotswold walks today. I've done many now. I think this is 24, 25, I'm not sure. It's quite a few. Anyway, and also another 20 looking at the Cotswold Way. Hope you enjoyed this. We'll return to the Cotswolds again, some other part of it. This time we're in Worcestershire, last time we were in Gloucestershire. Maybe next time we'll go down into the Wiltshire Cotswolds or cross to the Oxfordshire Cotswolds, or maybe up to the Warwickshire ones. It's such a huge area, the Cotswold AONB, and I always find it delight, even though it has been rather inclement today. Anyway, thanks very much for watching today. Hope you enjoyed it. Love to know your thoughts. Please drop a comment below. Please share it as well if you think somebody else might want to see the video, enjoy the walk. Oh, forgot to mention, I will put a link to the OS map that I used today. So if you want to do this walk yourself, you're most welcome to do. Just click on the link and it'll pop up, and then you can see the exact walk that I've done today on this route here. That's Beckford, car free. I'm now going into the centre of the village to catch my bus back to Evesham Railway Station, get my train home. All the best, see you soon. Bye bye for now.